music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine pun Kelly, get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows, dissect the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steampunk Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello, and welcome to the Pun Show. Today, I'm really happy about this interview. I'm joined by Ben Canham. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And Ben is from England, living in Scotland, and kind of a fan of American politics. He likes to follow American politics. And we've got to know each other on Twitter, and then we are mutuals on Bluesky as well. I remember how happy you were when you got followed by Mark Hamill.
Yes, I did. I was very taken aback. I was speechless. At first, I was trying to make sure it was genuine, but then I saw the blue check mark and saw how many followers that he had, and it just really made my day that I got noticed by him.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Mark seems like a genuinely nice person. Not all the celebrities end up being nice people, but Mark certainly seems like one of them.
And so are you. And thank you again for inviting me onto your show.
Thank you. I'm actually, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Like as I was mentioning to you before we went live, a big part of what I want to do with my show is get to know people that are marginalized and, from marginalized communities. Because I think if you talk to people, you end up seeing their people and you understand people, and it makes you a bigger person and a larger person with a larger heart. The more people you get to know. And you are an adult with autism.
Yes.
And you made some comments after, like the whole Tylenol causing autism thing came up. And one of my favorite things that you said was that you didn't have autism because you're I want to remember how you said this. I don't have autism because my mom took Tylenol. I don't have autism because my mom gave me vaccines. I have autism because my brain is wired differently.
Yeah, because that's how my brain works. Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that about autism. I think a lot of people think that autism is a disease, and it's not a disease.
No, definitely not.
So can you just talk to us? What is autism? How does your brain work differently? And and also, not everybody with autism is exactly the same. I saw some people I have brothers with severe autism and this isn't autism. So also, like, what does it mean that there's a spectrum? Like, can you just share us what your knowledge is of autism?
Well, to me, autism is a very big spectrum. There's autism is a huge, there's lots of different types of it. And, and there's a whole range into that. Goes into that, sorry, and for me, just like sometimes the way I word something could be different to somebody else, or sometimes the way I might think about something, or putting something a certain way. one of the things I struggle with my autism is sometimes is eye contact. Some people have thought I was being rude sometimes because, when I have a conversation with someone, I may not directly always, look at them. I could be looking left or right or looking somewhere completely different. But even though I'm still directly speaking to that person, some people might misinterpret that and, think that's rude or, and sometimes that can be mistaken. So sometimes I have a difficulty with that.
Can I ask,
again,
is it just discomfort? Is it fear? Is it just you feel weird? Like why is, I mean, I'm not, saying it critically. I'm just so people understand that you're not being a jerk. Like, why is it that you struggle with eye contact?
For me, it's more I'm always a very self-conscious person. I've always been self-conscious about myself. Just anxiety. I sometimes might get butterflies in my stomach, or I worry about sometimes how I might look to somebody else, and things like that. It's like a self-conscious thing, basically.
So it's awkward for you. It's just you feel really awkward. Is that right?
Yeah, and then I feel bad because I feel like I hope this person did not think I was being rude and stuff like that. And you get all these thoughts going through your head. It can be hard at times.
Interesting. So, how else is your autism manifested?
I was diagnosed with autism in 2002 at the age of 5.
Okay.
Because my mom noticed, signs, but in certain types of behaviour. Because I used to be, before it was given a name, I used to be classed as a fussy eater. Because I have this eating disorder called ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. And it's only recently been given a name, and it's very common in those that are autistic. And it affects, ARFID basically revolves around smells, taste, and textures. So, for example, if there's a certain food I may not like the smell of, or if it makes me feel like I'm going to throw up, it's hard to. So, if it doesn't pass the smell test, I'm more unlikely to eat it.
Interesting.
So that was one of the things.
For me, I've never been diagnosed with autism, but I have a similar thing with certain foods like bell peppers, and it's not the smell, it's the texture. It's like they're hard and kind of slimy, and so I get a gag reflex if I try to eat raw bell peppers. I love them cooked when the texture changes, but when they're raw, I cannot eat them without throwing up, basically. It just has a real gag reflex. Same thing with raw onions. Anything that's got like that kind of hard, slippery sort of texture, I can't eat. But so I kind of identify with what you're talking about. It's not that you don't want to eat certain foods; it's that you can't.
My body physically can't because I have that gag. I feel like I'm going to throw up feeling, and it's hard, especially when I go out to eat. I always end up ordering the same thing off the menu. It's almost like a form of safe foods. So, for example, my go-to meal is fish and chips.
Well, you're from England, so this is understandable.
But
it's the only good food they have in England. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's what we're famous for sure. But fish and chips to me is my safe food when I eat out because you can't really mess up fish and chips. I've had fish and chips from most places. You can never really mess that up.
You put vinegar on it?
I do, yes.
That's the best way. I lived in England for 3 years, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
No, you didn't. Which part?
My dad was assigned to Mildenhall Air Force Base. We were down by Cambridge.
I know where that. Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah, it's a nice place.
I enjoyed it there. I learned to play soccer there. So
that's cool.
Or football, I guess.
No, it's a nice place. But But yeah, so food and me is quite difficult. Um, but I can eat other foods, like if I eat, at home or stuff like that. But it has to be certain brands. Um, so for example, Bird's Eye for like peas or carrots.
Oh,
And,
wow, interesting.
it's like I'm very funny about certain brands and making things like that.
Are there things that you find, like I know sometimes autistic people can be better with things like pattern recognition and have certain strengths. Is there anything like that that you've noticed in yourself that maybe you do better than most people?
I like to think that people with autism are gifted, intelligent people. From the standpoint that I've met many autistic people, and I find the good thing about it is that people like myself have that developed interest or have a passion about something.
Mm.
I've met people that have been interested in train spotting, and they know absolutely everything about train spotting. And I've met people that like plane spotting, and people that like other different types of interests, things that make them feel passionate about. Like for me, American politics, things like that. It's like a thing that you're passionate about and you know a lot about, and you take that interest and then you know so much about it. It's like I don't know what you call it. It's like a gift that someone has who's autistic, but they then know so much about because that's their passion. That's something they love, and they put lots of time and effort into that, and and they know a lot of details about that interest. So yeah, I think autism's not all bad. It comes with gifts, and and I know some people say otherwise, but I think for me, the way I experience things, I feel like I've got a lot of gifts that come from it, and passions.
I was reading an article on autism, and that I, as far as I know, they kind of have some ideas of there are certain things that cause autism, but a lot of it is just genetic.
Yeah,
And you actually, there was like some studies that have been done that why has natural selection preserved this feature if it's so harmful? And the reality is it's actually not harmful. It's actually sometimes quite good in a community, because you have people that see things with a different perspective and can solve problems that otherwise may not have been solved. So natural selection has actually chosen autism because of its uniqueness. So that corresponds with what you're saying, like maybe even just your, like autistic people with autism can maybe focus on particular things more intensely than maybe like a regular person. And I shouldn't say regular person, somebody that's not on the spectrum. Is
yeah.
that the right way to say it? And
No, that's
because I
fine.
don't want to say, like, if you say regular person, then that means you're not a regular. You're a regular person. I'm a regular person. You have autism. I don't. That doesn't
Yeah,
make me more regular than you. But so people that aren't on the spectrum sometimes, like their imagination or their ability to see things through a different prism are
yes,
limited versus somebody with autism that is like really just fascinated with a particular thing, might be able to have insights that people that are not on the spectrum have.
yeah. No, you're right. It's almost like we have that a special lens. I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's almost like you have like a special lens. It's like a strong focus about something.
And so, do you have interests other than American politics? Is there anything else? Seems
Yeah,
like you like to travel and see things.
I do. I mean, I do love to travel. And I went to America for the summer. Um, really enjoyed it. Loved every single moment of that trip, and got to see and do a lot of things. Um, really enjoyed that, and I was staying in Pennsylvania, and did so much out there, and got to see the Rocky statue and the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, and got to
Did you run
see.
up them?
I didn't run. I didn't run up them, no, but I definitely went up there and took some photos. There were other people
I
there.
ran up them doing the dun dun dun, and then by the time I got to the top, I was barely able to breathe. That's a lot of steps.
Yeah, I mean it was fine walking at them, but I didn't attempt running up them because I wasn't sure if but no, that was fun. I loved it. I went to Independence Hall and did the tour of Independence Hall,
That was yeah, that's a really neat tour.
and the Liberty Bell as well. It was just phenomenal to see all that history right in front of me.
Wow.
And the tour was fantastic, really good. And so Philadelphia was really great, and Washington D.C. had a great time there. Did the tour of the Capitol, and got to see all like the sites around there, and went to George Washington's house in Mount Vernon, and Thomas Jefferson's house in Monticello.
Wow.
I went on Skyline Drive through the Shenandoah National Park, and I also did New York a couple of times.
I think you've seen more of America than a lot of Americans have.
A lot of people in America have said that to me. But it's an amazing place. There's so much to see and do. It's such a mass country, and it's amazing what there is to see and do there. When you think about it, it's just incredible.
I find that ironic because, like, I lived in England for 3 years. I lived in Italy for 2 years. I've been to most of the countries in Western Europe, and I've also been to like Turkey. And so I've seen a lot of like it's almost like in Europe, people will see like a 1,000-year-old castle and it'll just be kind of sitting there being ignored. Like there's stuff that is like older than America that's just completely ignored. So my fascination with history actually came from living in Europe, but you come over here and appreciate the American history. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, I love American history. That's something else I'm very passionate about. I love American politics, and and I love music, and I love photography. Um, I love walking. I sometimes go for long walks. Haven't been able to recently due to some other personal things like PTSD, which I shared in a thread on social media last night. But yeah, no, I do enjoy those things like photography, music, travel, politics, history, and that was one of my favorite subjects in school was history. I love learning about different history.
Did you go to university at all, or
No, I just went to school and then I went to college.
oh, so I don't. Is there a difference between going to university and going to college in England, or?
Yeah, so we call primary school, which is like early school, that's classed as elementary school, I think. And then we went on to secondary school, which I think is classed as high school, and then obviously college, but I didn't get to I didn't get a chance to go to university.
Okay. What did you study at college?
I studied a course called Life and Living Skills.
Oh, okay.
This was at the time when my mom was really sick, and she was in and out of hospital quite a lot, and it was a very hard time for me because I wasn't able to stay at my mom's house while she was in hospital, and the difficult part of it was I ended up going into before getting an apartment 10 minutes from my mom's house, I ended up in a foster home for about a week because my mom was really sick and I had nowhere to go. And because the foster home was very hard for me, because I didn't feel like I could fit in with the family I was staying with there. I felt very lost and, almost, to the point where I was scared and I was texting my mom and when she was in bed, in a hospital bed, and saying that, could you get me out of here? I don't like it. I miss you and things like that. And after a very long week of my mom making phone calls to the social worker and places like that, I was able to get out of that. And it was such a dark time for me. And eventually, when I did get out of there, I ended up staying at one of my half brother's homes. And that was terrible too. It was actually worse because the first night I stayed there, I had school the following day. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning and I heard this banging above me. And my half brother's partner came down and said, "But your brother just tried to hit me and attack me." And this was in the early hours of the morning, and I was unsure what to do. It was scary being in that situation. So I went downstairs with her, to comfort her and make sure she was okay and nothing else happened. And her parents came and picked her up and took her back to her parents' house so she was safe. But I was then left to stay at his house, which at that point I was really uncomfortable. I mean, I just wanted to get my suitcase and just go on the street at that point because I was lost and had nowhere to go. It was a terrible, traumatic time. And after all the hustle and bustle being passed from pillar to post, eventually, when my mom came out of hospital, I was able to find an apartment which was 10 minutes from my house, and I stayed there, and then I attended college, and that's why I went to learn life and living skills.
So that's like you learned how to do things like cook and do your laundry and stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that. I developed that, but I also did like math and English on the side of that.
Just I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you, but my older brother, he's been for about 25 years now. He has been working with autistic adults. There's like a home for adults with autism that they're semi-independent. They're functional, but they haven't gotten to the point like where you're at, where they can kind of live by themselves. They need monitoring to make sure they don't accidentally burn the house down or anything. So he goes over there and just kind of like takes care, not wouldn't even say takes care of them, but just kind of, like make sure that they're not burning down the house and like takes them to movies and stuff like that. And so I kind of have some idea of what you're talking about there just from conversations with him.
But it really helped me actually doing that course. I was able to complete my first year there, but that's when things turned for the worse. Because what happened was, there was one night when I was coming home from college, and I went to my mom's house for dinner. We went, we had dinner at her house, and it was a Friday night, and so we had dinner together, and it was really nice, because it was just lovely to be able to celebrate finishing my first year at college. And we had a nice dinner. And we arranged to meet the following day in town for coffee, which was a Saturday morning. So everything went really well on the Friday night. and I was about to get going to get my taxi and drive back to my apartment. And I said to Mom, "Would you like me to text you when I get back to let you know I got in safe?" And she told me no, she was a bit tired, and she'll see me tomorrow. So that was all right. Woke up the next morning and getting myself ready for meeting Mom in town. And what happened was I was going to phone her to let her know I was just about to walk down, and she wasn't answering her phone. So I thought maybe either the phone was turned off or probably forgot her phone. Didn't think too much of it at the time. And I got to the bottom of the stairs, and then my phone rang, and there was a neighbour from around the corner from my mum's house to say that my mum was rushed into hospital, and later turned out she died of a heart attack.
I'm sorry.
And I was only 19 at the time.
18?
18, yeah.
And you were 16 when your dad passed?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
My dad passed away with cancer.
It sounds like you had a really strong relationship with your mom.
No, I was very close to my mom. I was close to my dad too, but very close.
You were mentioning something to me before that when your mom passed, your siblings had the funeral and didn't invite you or something?
Yeah.
Did they all have siblings? Just like, or like, and did they exclude you because you didn't have the same dad, or did they exclude you because of your autism? Like, what was their reason for not inviting you? That seems so callous.
Well, what happened was, my mom passed away that night in hospital. My siblings just took me back to my apartment and left me there, and I never saw them again. And I was alone that whole night myself, and it was probably the most painful thing I ever experienced. And then when it came to the whole arrangements of the funeral, I was not included, not invited. Don't know why. I felt rejected, and the saddest part of it all was when my mom's ashes were being scattered. I wasn't included in that either, because I found out actually on a Facebook video of my sibling. I've got 3 siblings, older brothers, half brothers. They put a Facebook video of them scattering my mom's ashes on the beach on the east coast of England, and it really hurt my feelings because I saw that video and I instantly was just, speechless because I was not there and were invited. But the most painful thing for me was I overheard what one of my siblings said to my mom once, because my mom used to always say to my siblings, you should do more with Ben, and you should involve him in more stuff, and because he never really used to do much with me, even when my mom was alive. My mom used to encourage them, but I overheard one of them say to my mom once, but the reason why they didn't want to do anything with me was because they didn't want to be seen with somebody who's autistic, and because they didn't want to take the time to understand me, and and that was painful for me to hear that. It broke my heart actually to hear that from them. That they said that the reason for not wanting to do anything with me was because they didn't want to be seen with somebody who's autistic. And that always lived with me ever since, and it was painful.
Were you bullied in grade school or anything? Did people bully you for it?
I used to be bullied a lot in school, especially for my weight. I mean, yes, I'm not the most skinniest person, but it still hurt my feelings that, I was made fun of for being fat and overweight and things like that. I used to get picked on a lot for that. But as I always say to people, it shouldn't be about looks. It should be more about personality.
Mm-hmm.
The inside counts. And I think a lot of people distinguish that sometimes.
So you were mentioning at the start of the show that one of the things you struggle with is eye contact because you feel like insecure. And
Yeah.
do you what you're saying now, like you were rejected by your classmates, you were rejected by your siblings. It seems like you have some legitimate reasons to feel insecure.
Yeah. And that's when I turned to Twitter. I started posting my experiences and how I was feeling, and just writing those feelings down, almost like a diary, almost like a journal. And that's how I developed all my followers, and that's why I had all these people who followed me, and I've got so many wonderful people who follow me now, including yourself,
And Luke
follow my
Skywalker.
journey. And Luke Skywalker too.
I remember when that happened. You were so happy.
I'm grateful to all my followers who follow me, and I like to call my followers not just friends but family, because I feel like someone said this to me the other day. They said family's not always blood.
Mm-hmm.
You can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And I thought that was a really good way of looking at it. And for me, all my friends are family to me, and I feel connected on here. And I mean, I don't know, for some reason every time I go on social media I almost get the feeling of loved and supported. But then when I'm not on my phone and not on social media, I feel very isolated and alone. And and that's why I'm grateful to everyone on here, because I feel accepted for who I am, and loved, which is something I didn't have from my real family because of the way they treated me when my mum died. And I never had any proper closure for my mum's death, which I think is the reason why I struggle mostly over my mum's death, because my dad's death, my mum supported me through that. So I felt like I had all that closure, but I don't feel I had the same result from my mum, and that's part of the reason why I think I suffer still today.
And so you moved you're from Edinburgh?
I was born in a small town in England called Melton Mowbray.
Okay.
Which is where pork pies come from.
Oh, hey. Thank you for that. I love a good pot pie. And then you moved to Scotland about 5 years ago?
Correct. Yeah, I live very close to Edinburgh. I live in Perthshire in Scotland, and I've been here now 5 years. But since my dear friend passed away in February this year.
You moved there to be close to your friend?
My friend Sheila, yes. She sadly passed away in February. She died of pancreatic cancer.
I'm so sorry.
And she was like my main source of support here in Scotland. She did lots for me and took me places. We went on adventures together and things like that.
When
used
I
to
know,
go.
I was thinking about this. You post a lot of pictures of yourself in different places. Is she the one that was taking the pictures?
Some of them, yes. Not the most recent though, but last year and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And we used to go away on like holidays together and stuff like that as well. And so she was basically my main support here. Almost, like losing a second mom. And it's painful because now I feel isolated here, and hence why I'm moving next weekend down to England again, to a place called Kettering, which is in Northampton, very close to London. I've got friends down there as well, so that'd be nice, and I'm hoping to regain my confidence, which I've lost. So I like to think that I can rebuild my confidence again after, all the things that I've gone through. It'd be so good to be able to walk outside and not have PTSD anymore. Things like that.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, did we? You were assaulted.
I was in Melton, where I grew up, not long after my mom died. I was just out walking. I was going out walking, trying to improve my health, and I had my earphones in, just minding my own business. And I used to walk 3 or 4 miles back then. And the difficult part was one day when I was out walking, because I was doing well up to a certain point. I was really enjoying it. I was getting into the swing of it, like a routine. Sometimes doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And then there was one day when I went to the store after going on a long walk, but the store happened to be closed, so I ended up just turning around and heading home. And then this group of people approached. There was about 5 of them, and they were all just like, picking on me and stuff. I don't know why. They were just making fun of my weight. And one of them took 2 pebbles out of the flower bed and threw them at me. One of them hit me on the side of the face. And but that same group of people, it wasn't the first time it happened. There was a second time when I got threatened with a knife. And it just lost all my confidence going anywhere by myself, and I just felt I wasn't able to leave the front door unless I had somebody to go out with me. So I was just constantly isolated, and couldn't. Just felt, what's the word? Trapped. And it's been hard ever since. And the police didn't do anything about it other than just give them a warning. And that's all they got given was a warning. There was no action taken.
Might as well just tell them they can do it again, right?
And it's sad because even though it was just a threat, it still had a long-lasting impact on my health and anxiety. And I don't think the police understood or don't understand what that's like. Ever since then, I've been too afraid of going out of the house on my own. It's been, and that's why it's difficult in Scotland at the moment, because I get support from an organisation, an autism organisation, but at the moment I don't feel best supported because they said to me that my support was going to be increased when my friend Sheila passed away earlier this year, to offer like emotional support, things like that. But I never did get my support increased. Now I only get support once a week on a Thursday. And that's the only human being I see every week now. But 6 days a week, I'm just spent here, stuck inside 4 walls, not able to get out, constantly having to have stuff delivered. and it's so hard. And as nice as Scotland is, it's just too remote for me because I don't drive. I've got I've got no way of getting out. So that's why I took the decision to move to where I'm moving to, because where I'm going to be going, there's going to be shops within a 5-minute, 10-minute walking range, which is going to be so much better for me. Just being able to go out to the shops if I need something. Just to be closer to proximity, and also to some friends as well. Because where I am currently, I've not been able to make any other friends, and like I said, Sheila was my only source of support here. And I feel let down by the support organisation I get support from, because it's very hard for me getting out once a week and then spending stuck in isolation 6 days a week. It has a toll on your mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like this move's going to be really positive for me. Trying to rebuild my confidence again, which I've lost for such a long time. And I'd like to think that things will improve. I'm trying to stay positive with that.
I think that takes a lot of courage doing what you're doing, and you should be commended for that. Not everybody has the challenges you have, and to even think about overcoming them is really courageous.
I just love talking about my experiences and sharing my story and experiences, because I like to think I'm not the only person out there that's going through what I'm going through. But the reason why I tell my story for a couple of reasons. One, I like to feel like I'm telling my story to make others who may be feeling the same way I do feel less alone. But also, I like talking about it because I like to think that someone may take something from that, or somebody might take something away from my story. It might help them. Either that's over them overcoming their own hard times, or their own challenges. I like to think I'm making a difference by putting how I feel out there and speaking up about certain things, because I like to think that it's going to help others, and that's something that makes me feel good, because I love helping other people as well.
That's why I wanted to have you on here too, Ben, is because I think your story does help other people, and I think it can help people that have autism. I think it can help people that have family members that have autism. And I think it can help people that don't know anybody that has autism, just to understand, like, this conversation we've been having. All your, like, most of your story is just of kind of typical, I mean, it's sad. Like, not everybody loses their parents when they're 16 and 18, but you're a man that loved your father, loved your mother. You have friends. You like to eat fish and chips. Like, there's nothing. You're not like you're not like the Rain Man or something. You don't count cards and repeat phrases or whatever. Like, and sometimes I like wonder even like about that movie. Did it help or hurt people with autism? Because it turned the whole thing into like a caricature. And it's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is there's this kind of counter, like there's the autism, like RFK Jr. talking about how, people with autism can barely function. And then there's other people that act like autism is a superpower, and it's like you're a person who has autism and your brain functions a little bit differently. But the most important word in all of that is you're a person, and getting to know right now is just a real human being. And I think all of the people that are watching are seeing a normal man with autism.
No, you're right. But I was just going to add, and I posted this on Twitter and Bluesky. I know autism is defined as a disability, but for me, I see mine as a different ability. And, because of the things that, the gifts and talents that I have, and, and just, just all those things combined. But yeah, so for me, I don't like looking at my autism as a disability. I look at it as a different ability, is what I'm trying to say. Because it's because that makes me who I am, and and yeah, I think I've said that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned your weight a couple of times. It sounds like you've been trying to lose weight.
Yes, I have. I mean, unfortunately, I do eat the wrong foods, and I know I need to do better. But I'm trying to work on it. But like I say, it's very hard at the moment because I'm only getting out 1 day a week. But at some point, down the line, I want to work on, my weight loss journey a bit more, and because eventually, I don't want to spend the rest of my life, carrying on the way I do with food and stuff. But it's hard. I'll be honest.
I we can talk more about this offline, but I am on what I call an eat food diet, and I eat the food that I like, but I cook it myself, and I cook it like I don't have white rice. I have brown rice. I mill my own wheat and make my own bread, and it doesn't take that much work. But there's like science behind this that the less processed your food is, the longer it takes to digest. So you eat less, and you're full longer. So you eat. It helps both with appetite control and like just grazing type behaviors that tend to gain. Anyway, I started doing that. I lost 50 pounds without counting calories or anything. So
wow.
And I take the foods that I really like eating and learn to make them from scratch, so that I'm not changing what I eat. I'm just changing how it's made. So I've got some stuff on my channel about this, and we can talk about it more, but maybe I could help you find foods that you enjoy eating that you cook yourself, and then the food you're eating would help you lose weight.
No, I'd like that a lot. Thank you for that. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, because at the moment I'm doing a lot of eating out.
Eating out is really the worst thing you can do. When you go to a restaurant, the food is great because they're not looking at a weight loss thing. There's so much, like for me, I had high blood pressure too, and all the salt that they put in, food when you go out. But that's because the food is so processed, they take all the flavor out of it, and so then they need to put flavor back in it. So they put in fat, and they put in salt, and they put in stuff that's bad for you.
I'm going to be honest with you. The fish and chips in America that I've had were delicious. And I recommend Applebee's fish and chips for one, because they're amazing. I mean, they were really. When I went to Applebee's in Pennsylvania, the staff that worked in there were very taken aback when I said to them, I said, "I think your fish and chips taste just as good as back here in the UK." Well, and they never had a compliment like that from somebody from England. And
I can make pretty good fries, or chips, but I have never made like fish and chips. So now I'm interested in trying that. I milled some flour and made some fried, like the fried chicken sandwiches, like they sell. Yeah. I made one of those from fresh milled flour last week, and it was just Oh, it's so best chicken sandwich I ever had. So now I might have to step up the game and try making fish and chips. I'll share the recipe with you if it turns out well. How's that sound? You can make your own fish and chips.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, so that's yeah, it's one of it's my favorite dish. If I had to pick a favorite dish, that would be what it will be.
that's that. There, when I lived in England, I ate some pretty weird foods, but fish and chips was, I remember, like, and this was back, I lived there in the 70s. So this was like when they were still wrapping it in the newspaper and stuff, and you know, it was good stuff. Put that malt vinegar on there and some salt and
Yeah,
yums.
really adds to the flavor.
So do you get into TV at all? Do you have any favorite TV shows?
I do. There's a few things I watch on TV. So I watch a lot of, obviously, American politics. Different things on that. I also look at a lot of history things. Um, but I've also been watching this other YouTube channel as well lately, which I find really useful, and I find very inspiring and uplifting. It's really, I mean, I kind of wish I discovered it sooner, because it's a really good way of telling, stories, and bullying and stuff like that, and how to, it's overcome that and things like that. It's there's a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Darman, and Darman is a very good, useful YouTube channel. The videos on there are very inspirational. And it's some videos are based on like bullying through school, bullying maybe through adulthood, and just different things like that. But I find watching those videos really uplifting, and very inspiring. Yeah, so I watch a lot of that too. I tend to watch most of YouTube stuff anyway. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube most of the time. YouTube is very good for stuff like that. You can watch practically anything you want on YouTube.
That's where I learn all my recipes.
On YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube has a lot of good cooking stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have? So this is just a thought I had while we were talking. You are actually, you're pretty eloquent, and I find that people that can speak easily also tend to write well. Have you ever thought about, and I think your story is very interesting. Have you ever thought about writing an autobiography like My Life with Autism and just telling your story? Because I think it would help other people, and I think it would help you if you did that too.
No, I definitely would love to do something like that. It would definitely be something I want to do. Yeah, like work towards. So I definitely do think it would definitely be very useful to a lot of people. So yeah, I'd definitely love to do that idea at some point. So like you say, be good for a lot of people to read that. Yeah, no, I like that idea.
Yeah, writing is really helpful for me. Like, I do a lot of writing, as you know, but for me, writing is a way of processing everything, and I find out a lot about myself when I write, and it doesn't even have to be like a personal story, even if it's fiction. Like, just writing what the character's thinking and stuff, it taps into certain aspects of myself,
I'd love
and
to
I
do
just
that.
find it a very cathartic experience. So
I'd love to do that, because I would like to put my experiences down from, put it into like bullet points. A section for PTSD, and a section for my eating disorder, and a section for about my autism, and just different sections, different things, like different paragraphs on each different subject. Like you said, I think that'd be really, really good idea too, to do that at some point. Yeah. But another thing I need to try and work on is not answering to horrible comments. I mean, I've had some backlash comments on posts that I put up, but I mean, I need to try and work harder on that. Even though it's hard to sometimes ignore, comments, but it can come over as negative. But as people tell me to do, just block them, don't respond to them, because if you respond to them, then technically that's most 9 times out of 10, that's kind of what the people like that want. They want attention for, so, and they said to me, by ignoring them, they really hate that. People who write nasty comments really hate it when you ignore them, and it's true. So I think just by blocking them and ignoring them is definitely probably the way to go.
Yeah. I've seen some of them, and I just think that they're just, when they insult you, they're only insulting themselves. And so, like, blocking is the best way to just confirm to them that they didn't get to you. And then they just look like a jerk, and you look like the bigger person. So, so we're coming up on an hour now, and I've really enjoyed our talk.
I've really enjoyed our conversation as well, and I really greatly appreciate you inviting me onto your show. I mean, I was nervous, but I'm very proud of myself for coming on here today.
I'm proud of you too, Ben. Genuinely, I think you've really shown like strength to come on and tell your story. And
I mean, there was some topics I felt harder to talk about, but I think I've explained all of them pretty well. I mean, I think doing stuff like this it can be hard, but I'm very proud of myself. And grateful.
I bet your mom is proud of you too.
Yeah, I believe she is. But no, I'm grateful that you invited me on the show to speak about autism and understanding autism. Because I think it's good for people like me to speak and have a platform to talk about how they feel and and what affects them, and just being able to share who they are. I think it's really, really positive.
And we've got some good positive comments from Amy back a while ago. She said, my son gets that with certain things too. He refuses to eat oatmeal. She was referring to your food sensitivities. And then she said, it ran in my husband's family. I'm not really surprised my son was born with it. It really does. I'm going to do another slideshow. I've done a few slideshows. If nobody's seen them, they're on my YouTube channel. And there's just, talking about some of the misconceptions about autism, like what doesn't cause it. Tylenol does not cause it. That study has been refuted. Vaccines do not cause it. That study was was beyond refuted. That study was bogus, and it was done by a doctor in England that was being paid £55,000 by the lawyers that were suing the vaccine industry, and he manufactured the results. There were only 12 people. 2 of the people actually had autism before they got vaccinated. He was going off of memory. There was no control group, and there was all of this stuff. But it was not. It was just kind of taken at face value at first, and it was like several years before somebody looked into it. This reporter looked into it and said, wait, this thing is totally debunked. And so since then, the guy has lost his medical license. He's been totally humiliated, but still the myth perpetuates that somehow there is this link. And it all ties back to this one doofus that made up results and got paid. And it's always funny because they always insult the pharmaceutical industry, and then they say, well, what, follow the money.
Yeah.
And it's like, follow the money for the skeptics too then. This guy got paid 55,000 pounds in 1996, I think, or 1999 maybe. He got paid 55,000 pounds, which is, I guess, probably like $150,000, $200,000 today. And it was just a totally bogus study. And
I was outraged. It was
what actually is autism versus what people think it is. So there's some slideshows there. I'm gonna have a longer one up in the next day or two. So
yeah, I was outraged when I saw that. When I saw that, this stuff came out saying that autism is caused by Tylenol and stuff, paracetamol for us. We call it paracetamol over here. Just utterly ridiculous, to be honest. And that's why I felt the need to post about that subject, because, I'm very passionate about autism and sharing awareness. And when I saw that, it was just, I was so mad and upset by the comments by the current administration, Trump administration, made, and links to autism. So that's why I posted the things that I did, because I felt
I can see, because a lot of it is like they're trying to blame your mom, whom you love, for your autism, as though she did something to cause it. And it's like, this is sort of, go back to the Bible, and immediately, like the so-called fall, and God says, what happened? And then Adam says to God, the woman you gave me. Like right away, from the very first thing that went wrong in, the biblical version of the world, man was blaming women for stuff, and it's consistently and perpetually lasted for, all of human civilization.
Yeah, honestly, I just couldn't believe it. It's just, it's just ridiculous. I mean, all the things that I've been watching on, what's been going on over there, and it breaks my heart to see what is going on. I'm not gonna lie, it breaks my heart, because I've had lots of friends, reach out to me telling me how much they're worried and stuff, and it breaks my heart, because I love America. I've loved America for a long time. I've loved it since I was 10 years old, which is 18 years now, and and to see all the things that is going on there, it does break my heart. It pains me to see what you guys are going through. And yeah.
I wanted to make sure you saw this comment from T. Lanza on Facebook, or on YouTube, I'm sorry. Your story absolutely helps. I introduced a family member or a family friend to your story. He has been more inclined to come out with friends a little more. So just so you know, what you're doing is helping other people with autism. So,
well, thank you. That's a beautiful comment. I'm very grateful that my story is helping, because that's what I want from this, is that people take something away from it, or it goes on to help others. So I'm truly grateful that that's happened.
And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, so you can tell your story, and so people that don't have autism could engage with you and realize you actually just seem like a really nice man to me. That's who you are to me. And you seem like a kind person, and that feels things a lot and deeply, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. And anybody that bullies you has a lot to be ashamed of.
Thanks for that, Kelly, and I'm grateful for your support too. Truly grateful for your support. And being there for me, just like all my other followers are. It means a lot that I have such a good community, so to speak, around me. A good community of people on here who have been the most supportive people that I've had, and it's definitely helped me to stay positive and keep pushing forward and never giving up. Because before I never used to see light at the end of the tunnel, but now I do. Thanks to all the support of everyone on social media. It's definitely helped me to see light at the end of the tunnel, and like you say, like I said, to not give up.
So, and just so everybody knows, if they want to follow you, I'll put your at for both Bluesky and Twitter in the description box so people can see that. But if you can just also, you can find Ben in the search box on both Twitter and Bluesky, and it's Ben Canham. If you just put in Ben Canham, and if you can't remember his last name, just think of Tom Homan, because Tom Homan looks like a can of ham. So Canham, right?
Canham, yeah.
I hope that doesn't come across as offensive, but that's I have this bad pun problem, and this is how I remember names, is I think of puns to remember them.
No, not at all. I mean, that's perfectly said. But yeah, no, like I said, I'm just grateful to be on the podcast today, and I've just loved every single minute of it, and I'm grateful. So, thank you.
And thank you for coming on. I really genuinely appreciate you taking the time out of your morning, almost, right? What time is it where you're at?
It's just gone 7:00 in the evening here. So
it's not as late as I was thinking. Okay.
no,
Oh no,
I'm a night owl anyway.
When we were talking about scheduling it, it was like 2:00 in the morning. So
I'm a night owl because I have lots of people in America who I talk to on the phone and message with, and so I stay up pretty late to talk to people. I love talking to my followers on the phone, and from all different parts of the world. I mean, I speak to people in Australia on the phone. I speak to people in Germany, people in America, and and I just I love that.
That's awesome.
It's nice. I mean, I love talking to everybody because it's makes me feel loved. So,
well, you are. A lot of your followers really do genuinely cheer for you. And thanks again for coming on. And we'll go ahead and end here. And just really thanks for your time and for sharing your story. And I can tell a lot of the viewers really appreciated hearing it. So,
well, thank you again, Kelly, and thank you everyone for watching.